Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I got a video here today that I think you're gonna find real interesting. I was telling my story to a woman at a garage sale today. It's somebody I know, and I've told it hundreds of times, thousands of times, and then that gave me the idea. It's like, I should just tell this story on video. I tell parts of it in videos. I do a lot where I show, the evidence and prove that. This time I'm not going to be showing you, here's the police report, here's the lab report proving I wasn't shot with my gun. Here's the recording where the guy running for sheriff said that, our other sheriff used to hang out underground. All this huge amount of evidence. I'm just going to tell the story, and most people they're blown away when I do. They're like, they can't even believe it. These are people in Midland, because our press has been hiding these crimes and murders from the public. I mean, that's what's been going on. That's the only way they can get away with killing one homeowner after another, is with the help of our corrupt press here, And so anyway, I'm just going to get started with that and tell you kind of how I tell the story. And so one thing I'll open up with a lot of times, I'll ask if it's a stranger. I'll ask them. I said, "Do you know who I am?" And because I get recognized a lot, I went around town. I saw your videos or whatever. I had probably around 3 million views on videos, and so even with the censorship and hiding the facts and evidence from the public, still a lot of people that know. But then of course the common answer is like, I'll ask them. I said, "Do you know who I am?" And they'll look at me like, "Who are you? Are you somebody famous, whatever?" And then I just laugh and I say, "I'm nobody, but I have a story, And then I'll go start the story, And getting a haircut, I'll tell my story. I've told it hundreds and hundreds of times, and so basically, I transferred to Midland in 2008 with the large gas company DCP Midstream. I was a 25-year company man, and they offered me a promotion over here from Hobbs, New Mexico. That's where I was born and raised, about 100 miles away. And so I moved over here, and I bought this home, which is directly behind the Midland Home Depot store. And the young previous owner of my home died a couple weeks before I closed on the home. I ended up buying it from the widow. And I was told it was an accident, and of course I had no reason to think different. You know what I mean? I didn't even meet the sellers, who was Mike and Sarah Lahan, and he was still alive when I first looked at the home, and then he died 12 days later. And then Sarah gets a hold of my realtor, and drops the price $35,000, which was an incredible amount because I only paid $130,000. And I just thought it was my good fortune at the time, not realizing this home was rigged and they're using it for burglary, theft, and murders, $1 million underground homes, all that other stuff. Nobody would expect that. And moving from your hometown is kind of is a scary adventure in itself. But nobody at all could ever imagine the never-ending nightmare that has gone on here. What's going on here is just nuts. And like I've told a lot of people, it should have been a national news story on multiple levels a long time ago. And so, but anyways, I was living here a couple years. I was single. I was remodeling this house, and busy out there in the oil field. I worked in the IT with took care of in Hobbs. I took care of a computer network. Over here, I was a what they called a SCADA analyst, which was supervisory control data acquisition, basically automation. I made computers talk to equipment. That's what I was doing. But anyway, so I'm working. I'm here at the house, and I'm remodeling and all this. I was dating a woman that worked in my building, and that was Angie. Okay, and then during 2010, because I come here in 2008, Angie tells me these people, these guys had told her she's going to be working the week of the oil show. Okay, and of course we get off work, we drive here, and then she'd be here for a little bit, and then she'd drive the oil show, and we talk on the phone while she drove there, and then so I knew the parties were within 5 minutes. And during that week, she tells me about that young girl that was murdered, because she didn't want to prostitute. Okay, And, I told her, I said, we got to report this because that's what normal people do. You know what I mean? I mean, there's somebody's killed, I mean, you can't you don't hide that, and she was afraid and told me high-level police were at the party. It's exceedingly clear now that where she was going is the underground homes that were here. That's where the oil show parties go. And around here in this area, everybody knows about the oil show, and they also know about the famous parties that go on. This is the Permian Basin International Oil Show. It brings in extremely wealthy people, because they're oil field people, from all over the world, okay, for a convention. And then the after-hour parties that go on during that week of the oil show are infamous, drinking, drugs, prostitution, all that stuff. I've never been to one, but I've heard about them all my life, and anybody around here has heard about them. So anyways, here I'm trying to get Angie to report the murder. She didn't want to. She was afraid. And so then I get a call from a police officer, and on my company cell phone, I'm trying to think of the number, 432-209. I can't remember the number. But anyways, it's a different number. It was my company cell phone. This can be verified. That's the reason I give that number out, is we'll go look up the records and it'll show, yeah, Angie left my house. We talked 5 minutes and she was at the party, etc. It can also show you which police officer called me, because that's important, because he threatened me. And he threatened if I talked to Angie again, then he was going to arrest me for harassment. Okay, and I'm trying to get Angie to report a murder that police were involved in. Okay, this is back in 2010. Okay, this is 2 years before I'm shot, and so I never talked to Angie again. To this day, I haven't talked to her since 2010, because I was threatened by this Midland police officer. It's still, I don't even know who it was. I've wondered if it wasn't Chad Simpson, but I don't know that, and I can't find any legitimate law enforcement to do the investigation or even try to stop all these crimes and murders, Anyway, so I never talked to Angie again. It wasn't about a month after that I noticed that somebody was in my house, okay? And that's where I'm in my living room right now. And I'm the only one that lives here, okay? And so I got this feeling that somebody had been in here, and I was leaving out the back door, and I just get this idea that there's a throw rug on the ceramic tile by the back door, and when you step on it, it'll slide off crooked. I've done it 100 times to me, and I have to straighten it back up with the tiles. I have to square it back up, because I don't like things crooked, and that's my personality. Anyway, I intentionally, purposely straightened that rug up and then left, okay? And I wasn't gone about an hour, and I come back to my house, open my door, look down, the rug's crooked. I knew somebody had been in my house. I was 100%. I set a trap, basically, and I caught them. I knew somebody had been in my house. I was 100% sure. That date was November 9th, 2010. Called the police. That was my first call to the police. I call that day one, but actually I believe now that these same crimes, this home was rigged way long time before that. It was going on to the last homeowner before he died, etc. Okay. And so anyways, we found the sliding glass door open, and they wrote a report up or whatever, and even on that first report, they put possible 1096, which is crazy. Okay. Here I was, a 27-year company man, homeowner, granddad, never had a felony, and they're already laying the groundwork to call me crazy already. Okay. And that seems to be modus operandi to cover up the crimes and murders here, and so anyways, that's November. A couple months later, and at that point, then I'm like, somebody's coming to this house. I really thought it might have been kids from the neighborhood or whatever. Nothing was stolen, and so, anyways, I get in. Sorry about that. And so, anyways, I made my second call for a burglary in January 8th, 2011. And that time was my first time to hear somebody in the attic, And when I'm telling this story to a person that has never heard this, they're like, oh, you just gave me chill bumps, literally, they're like, this is freak. I said, have you heard this story? I asked them because you would remember if somebody told you about somebody breaking your home, getting in your attic, And then I'll go on. I tell them, now here we are all these years later. I've identified 50 other homeowners that have reported people in the attic. A dozen addresses just here in Midland. Another dozen over in Odessa, and then others from California to Alabama. This is going on all over the nation. I mean, it's truly it's racketeering, it's organized crime, it's a large nationwide crime racket. It's not one person. It's a big deal. I think it's connected to human trafficking. Okay, they're rigging private homes, and then I usually get asked, well, why are they doing that? Well, nobody's been arrested to ask them, but what I've long suspected is that if let's say if you're a human trafficker and you're moving Mexicans from Colombia into the United States, right? And you're charging them $5,000 a piece. Well, you got to either pay for them to stay somewhere. You got to pay for a room, at whatever the motel room costs, or monthly rent, $2,000 a month with utilities, right? But you rig a private home and where they can get in and out of the attic without getting seen. It's like a free room and board. I estimated it $2,000 per home, and then you have multiple people, so they can come and go all they want. Well, it's like, well, it's hot in my attic. Well, yeah, they're breaking apart your air conditioning system, your heater system. It runs 24/7. It's costing me a fortune. See, they're not stealing items like your TV and your jewelry and all that. They're stealing services, and that's a felony. It's called theft of services. Okay. And so, anyway, my first call for a burglary habitation, which is another felony, and literally, if somebody come burglarize your home, they could go to prison for 10 years. And here, this has gone on over and over and over again. It's going on at all kinds of other homes, and it's being hidden from the public by the press and by the police, But a whole bunch of these calls are directly from my police scanner. I have them on my YouTube channel, right, where I'm listening to my police scanner, and another homeowner calls and reports somebody in the attic, and I get my camera and my phone out, and I make a video of it, So that's where I've got all this proof, And so, anyway, these crimes continue. That year's when I married the ex-wife in 2011, in the same year. Okay, and it was also at the same time because on that second police report, that's when they, it wasn't no possible. It was all of a sudden 1096. He's crazy, and that seems to be modus operandi right there for covering up crimes and murders here by these corrupt police and their gang that's working, part of this crime racket, this nationwide crime racket, committing all these crimes. With people in the attic, okay? But also connects, I believe, to human trafficking, murder, blackmail, extortion, all the other stuff, okay? All the other crimes, maiming, mutilation, all that, okay? So anyways, I married this woman, and she's the first person that says, do you think they're coming from the ground? From the ground, I never even considered that. I can't figure out how they're getting in my house, but I know they're getting in my house, and I'm going around trying to, you can imagine the things I did trying to figure out how they're getting in this house, but the more I thought about that, that's what's going on, I never even heard of that before, somebody tunneling under a home, and now I'm sure of it. That's how they rig not only my home, but all them other homes, is that they go in there and they go under the home, okay, tunnel under the home, and then they find a wall that where they can modify with a crawl space, because a normal wall, you can't crawl up, there's not enough physical room for a person to crawl up a normal wall. And so you got to have a wall like next to a fireplace or whatever, where, you have, a 2-foot space, empty space in that wall, hidden crawl space in the wall. And that'll allow them to come up the wall. And then they get in the attic, and it's got a hidden door up there, whatever. And then they break across the air conditioner, free room and board for life. Okay, that's really what it is. And I say free, they got to buy their bullets to kill the homeowner if they catch them, like they did, tried to kill me, and I'm sure they killed the last guy or whatever. But and I figure that they're paying off these corrupt police that's lying on police report, proven to lie on police report, proven to falsify evidence. in the murder attempt of a lie. So there's their cost, but that it's a very profitable crime racket they got going on here, and it's big. $2,000 a month, one home, 10 homes, 20,000 a month, 100 homes. You can do the math. I mean, they're making a killing on this thing. And so anyways, it become apparent to me that she was connected with these people who are breaking my home, and there's a lot of details I'm leaving out, and I'm just keeping the story short, but I basically told her in December of that same year, 3 months after married, I'm done. I'm cutting my losses. You go back to your motel room or to your apartment, and I was here. We're getting a divorce. I'm done. I've got people breaking in my home, and I've got to get that stopped. And so the next month, I contacted the DEA. I called El Paso DEA, then the Midland DEA, and I reported a suspected smuggling tunnel coming from the back of Home Depot, which is over there about 200 foot or whatever. There's a secluded truck unloading lane there. I was seeing these truckers 24/7, middle of the night, holidays, store wasn't open, nobody there. And these truckers are coming there like a truck stop. They come, they stop for about 30 minutes, and then they drive off. And then, over the years, it was pretty easy to figure out the people in the attic were going over meeting the truckers, okay? And because, I'd have burglar alarm, motion alarms go off in the attic. I could hear them, and I could see that truck pull up on my security cameras. And then he'd get quiet. About 30 minutes later, truck drives off. All of a sudden, I hear him come back. It was real clear. The people in the attic were meeting the truckers. I'm suspecting they were doing it was sex trafficking. It was like a truck stop, and that's what it was. These were sex trafficking, or even child sex trafficking. One time, I found a child's toy on top of my HVAC filter, which is in the attic, and so I suspected even child sex trafficking. Okay. And another time I'll say this, but I saw a young Hispanic guy in my attic, This is not a what if could be, oh, maybe that's a mouse, No, it's not a mouse and it's not a bug, Sometimes they just fall down and it's like, boom, it'll scare you, I've had and I install these motion alarms. They've gone off with people here. They went off with police in my house before, with witnesses here, there is a large group of people. It doesn't matter how much evidence you have. 50 other homeowners. No matter how much evidence, they want to try to make excuses and try to cover up these crimes and murders. And now it's to the point of absurdity. But anyway, so we're there in January of 2012. Okay, just separated from the ex-wife. Contacted the DEA. My cell phone records will prove I called the DEA to El Paso and Midland, but they didn't look. Okay, and 2 weeks later, I'm ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. Somebody under my home shoots me, and burglar alarms are going off in the attic, motion alarms. Okay, so somebody's in the attic, and then somebody under my home shoots me, fall to the ground, and my phone lines are disconnected. They tried to kill me, And, it was then when I started looking up what happened to the last homeowner, Mike Lawhon, right? And because I was told that was an accident. And what I found was his death certificate says he died in Fort Worth, okay? But my neighbor that lived directly across the street, Marilyn DeLuigi, she told me twice that Mike died in this house, And one time she says, I should know, right? And that's exactly how she said it, She also said somebody else died here before him, And another guy later on Facebook, he asked me, he told me, he said, there's 4 people been murdered, died in your house. Do you know their names? Okay, which, well, I didn't know that, but obviously Mike Lawhon was one of them, the guy that, the young man, 27 years old, that died right before I moved here, okay? And so they're literally killing one homeowner after another, okay? There's more to what happened that day in that I'd come home from the grocery store and I noticed that somebody had been in my home again. There was a cushion out of place on the couch. And so I get this idea to tie wire my spare door shut because I'm trying to figure out where these criminals are getting in my home at. The ex-wife had already told me there was a trap door, but she didn't tell me where it was at. Okay, and it's a 3-bedroom home, 2 bath, and I live here by myself. So 2 bedrooms I don't need, 1 bathroom I don't need. So I took physical tie wire, and I just tie wired the door shut. Okay, what I didn't know at that time, I know now, is I trapped a burglar that I had been reporting to the police for 14 months in my guest bathroom, and I was on the other side of the door with a gun. okay, with every right to protect my life and property. Like I said, they're committing a felony, okay? You know, I was shot during the commission of a felony. That's actually what makes this a capital crime and carries life in prison. Because, you know, they didn't shoot me at Walmart. They had to come shoot me in my home. They had to break into my home first or sneak into my home first, right? And so that takes premeditation, you know. I mean, it does, right? I mean, that's all there is to it. Proof showing I wasn't shot with my gun, which I have, shows that somebody come to my home and shot me. And more than that, they cut my phone lines and shot me, you know. Disconnected, stole my cell phone, disconnected my home line. And so I'd bleed out and die or whatever. I had just filed divorce 5 days before that, you know. So if I would have died, then she was going to get this house, you know. And she's alleged to be involved in it by her former boyfriend now. Okay. And so, but anyway, so I crawled out of my home. And the reason I crawled out is because I didn't have any communications. You know, they tried to kill me. The shot literally threaded a needle between an artery and vein. You know, a nurse told me that. And she told me, she says, it's a miracle you're alive. So I crawled out, and this is one of the videos from my security cameras, okay? I crawled out, and I drove to the 7-Eleven, and a detective named Rosie Rodriguez climbed in my truck up there and started giving me first aid. And I'm thinking the cavalry's finally here. Finally, the police, you know, because I was really thinking it was more, you know, I wasn't suspecting police corruption at all, you know. And so I was actually relieved, you know. Finally, the police are going to do something about these crimes, you know, and where it's going to end, even though I was shot, you know. So then I go to the hospital. And I'm going to throw this in right now. I later found out that Rosie Rodriguez said that she wasn't even there. And April Chandler lied on police reports and said she climbed in my truck. You know, that was part of the many, many lies that were told to cover up this premeditated home invasion capital murder attempt. Okay. And so I get back out of the hospital, 10 days. They cut the back of my foot off. And there's a whole nother side of the medical side. I usually don't even tell this side of the story because it makes it longer, but the ex-wife had told me while we're still together. She comes in from work one day and she's real upset, and she's upset, and she whispers, she says, the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit. She's dead serious, okay? And she didn't say killing buddy for profit. She said people for profit. I think that's one of the biggest things there are, you know? What she didn't tell me was her brother-in-law was a doctor, okay? And come to find out, he was my doctor on when I made it to the hospital when I survived. And that's when it's proven that they falsified them x-rays, okay? They took the x-rays of somebody else, put my name on it, and you know, and the other guy was missing his heel bone, so they took me into surgery, cut my heel bone off. That's all proven. That's, you know, other videos that are showing that. Why would they do that? Because I wasn't shot with a shotgun, but they were trying to, I had a shotgun and they were trying to say I was. And that way they were trying to call this premeditated capital attempted murder an accident. And then nobody goes to prison and they can go on killing people or whatever, you know. It was to cover up, you know, murders, literally. And so anyways, in the hospital 10 days, I come back. Then I find out that the police are calling me crazy, saying I shot myself. I mean, I couldn't believe that. You know, after everything I'd done, I had been going to the police. And, you know, and the irony of that is I had been reporting burglaries to the police, and then I'm shot during a burglary, you know. And it looks like now that it was police that shot me. I'm going to get to that part. Okay. So anyways, I get back home where my security cameras are. And the only reason I had these security cameras is because of the crimes that were going on, because they were breaking into my home, okay? And I'm trying to figure out what happened because I didn't see the shooter, and I didn't even know they were there. I mean, nobody would suspect somebody under your home shot you. You know, I didn't know what happened. All I knew was burglar alarms were going off in the attic, and boom, I fell to the ground. All of a sudden, my phone lines could, you know, are disconnected. I had no communications, and then I'm crawling out. It was a survival mode, you know, is where I was at. And so, hold on. So anyways, my security cameras showed these police here at my house. Well, that's not surprising because, you know, there was murder attempt here, right? And of course I'm at the hospital telling them, you know everything I know or whatever, and what happened. And but then it was a private investigator that I got. Actually, there was a judge she was attorney, Sarah Billingsley, and she recommended her private investigator, Carlisle, and he come over here, and he was the one. I ended up getting rid of him about after a week, You know, he tried to say, have you thought about ghosts, you know? And that's when I knew he was gone. You know, there was this whole section where you had all these people, well, maybe it's ghosts, maybe it's ghosts, maybe it's ghosts. Because if it's a ghost, nobody goes to prison, right? You know, and I'm like, well, ghosts don't carry loaded guns, right? You know? And I mean, I don't buy that. I don't believe in ghosts, vampires, or zombies, you know? They finally quit saying that. But anyway, that's a private investigator. But one of the last things he told me before I fired him, right, was you need to get all the police records and all the medical records. Okay, that was a clue, and that's what I did. I went and got all the police records and all the medical records. Okay, and when I got the police records and I'm going through them, I don't have no police report for showing police in my home, but I got pictures of police in my home. Okay, so maybe they're police, or maybe they're criminals dressed like police, you know. But obviously they are police. They're just dirty cops, you know, and that's what they are. We know that now for sure. But anyway, so I sent these pictures to the chief of police with Robinson back then, and now we have a new chief of police, a new dirty cop, and then the sheriff, and that was Painter at the time, but now we have a new sheriff, you know, Kreiner, and the mayor. We have a new mayor and the city council. Sent it to Attorney General Paxton. That's the one guys that stayed the same, right? Nobody would name these police officers that were inside my home without a police report. They can't do that. That's a crime, right? And so that's when I started making videos. One of my most watched videos is called Secret Police. You know, went around the world, tens of thousands of views of the secret police. I used to call them the first known secret police since Nazi Germany. You know, and because secret police are illegal, and so they became famous, world famous. You know. So 6 years goes by of death threats, repeated break-ins to my home, and people coming to me going, I'd sell that home if I was you, you know, because they're trying to terrorize me out of my home. And they want me out of this home because this home is rigged, just like I said. And they, they're trying to cover up the capital murder attempt by lie, and which is connected to the murder of the last guy that lived here. And then the little girl that was murdered at the oil show, I believe that happened in the underground homes that's here, you know. And so that's 2 capital murders and a capital attempted murder. That's why they want me out of this house, right? So, and then when you report the crimes to the police, they look the other way. Oh, he's crazy, you know, because they're corrupt. That's where like Chauvin got sentenced today, you know. I'm going, there's some differences between these secret police and Chauvin, because Chauvin didn't go sneak under Floyd's home and shoot him, you know what I mean? And I mean, Chauvin wasn't falsifying the police reports and tampering with evidence like these dirty cops were. These are the dirty of the dirty. I mean, this is a premeditated, cold-blooded capital attempted murder, and it looks like it was cops that tried to kill me. I'll get to that in a minute. Anyways, in 2018, a private investigator, Empire Private Investigations, identified all 11 of the secret police. Okay, those amazing results too. He got paid $2,000. The first one that showed up at my house, which was on video on my security cameras, 19 minutes after I crawled out, was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward. Okay, this is Midland County. Nobody's ever explained why a sheriff from a whole different counties at my home, minutes after a capital murder attempt. Obviously he was in the underground home in the backyard. He was under my home when I shot. That's why he showed up. And he was followed, Woodward was followed by the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor. Mike Naylor was killed in the line of duty in 2014. Okay. Well, see, he didn't get identified by the private investigator until 2018, 4 years later. The public, and he was made out to be a hero. Police officer died in the line of duty, and he's the hero. The public was never told he was a secret police that I had a reward offered to identify, caught on camera at my house. He was here minutes after I survived a murder attempt. He wasn't dispatched, and his name wasn't on the police report. I just mentioned the police report because the next year in 2019, I found out there was a police report all along, which had been subpoenaed in 2013. It had been illegally withheld from me. The police report had. okay, for 7 years, okay? And and I get these people, you haven't done nothing for 7 years. You can't imagine what I've been through. The obstruction of justice is just off the charts for them to breaking in homes, killing one homeowner after another, and I can't find a good cop. Literally, anybody know a good cop, you tell them to come here, and I got the evidence showing, that I wasn't shot with my gun. I got all this evidence, plenty of evidence. I can't find any legitimate law enforcement, no matter Texas Rangers, FBI, DHS, nothing, and so anyways, another one that was inside my home was Chad Simpson. Chad Simpson was a Midland police officer, K-9 police officer, that murdered his wife and killed himself, allegedly, in December 2014. 2 months after Naylor died, secret police deputy, sheriff deputy Naylor died in 2014, in October, and then in December, Simpson kills his wife and kills himself, allegedly. Some people are wondering if Naylor, because he was a secret police, wasn't murdered by some of the other secret police. Maybe Naylor was going to a snitch on him, or do the right thing. He was going to, go, no, there's $1 million underground home, and we're pimping out little girls down there, and there's a whole gang of us all involved or whatever, and they killed him, and then they blame somebody else, and so maybe same thing with Simpson. I've had people tell me that Chad Simpson was a good guy, and they can't even see him murdering his young wife, the mother of his 2 little babies, and then killing himself, and so that's still unknown if that was what happened or not, but what we do know is 2 secret police are dead and a policeman's wife with connections to the murder, to my life, connected to the murder of Mike Lawhon, the last guy that lived here, connected to the murder of the little girl at the 2010 oil show party, believed to be held in the underground home in the backyard. Okay. Anyway, so in 2019, I get that police report. What I find is 6 of the officers seen on camera, identified by the private investigator, Empire Private Investigations, had their name omitted from the police report. That's not one, we might have accidentally left somebody off. 6 of them at 11, okay, omitted. That's a felony. They falsified a government record. They could go to prison for that, but this is crime after crime after crime after crime. They're being allowed felony after felony after felony, and so, anyways, the most important thing on that police report that I didn't get until 2019 is it time-stamped 5 police officers at or in my home when they was not seen arriving, because they did see Woodward and Naylor arrive, okay? So I crawled out at 10:42 and I left. At 11:01, Woodward and Naylor are driving up. We see them on the camera. Okay, and the police report that was withheld for 7 years showed that Dickie was inside my home. Actually, Davis was here at 11:03, 2 minutes after Woodward and Naylor were seen, and he wasn't seen arriving. And then Lieutenant Dickie, that was Sergeant Matt Davis, and then Lieutenant Dickie is inside my home, because there's a remark on the police report, inside my home, lots of booby traps. There ain't no booby traps. It was a lie. It was another lie. He should be fired for it. He should have gone to prison for that, and that's what's been going there. Falsifying police reports or tampering with evidence, etc., And so 6 of them are names omitted, but the most important thing is they time-stamped 5 police officers at or in my home, and they were not seen arriving. That would be Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale. Okay, and so all my other doors were secured with extra locks due to the crimes that were going on here, and it's noted on the police reports. There was no other way in my home. How did they get in your home, buddy? The way they got in my home, from the underground trap door the ex-wife told me about. She'd already told me about it, and from where I had been ambushed and shot in that utility room. That's what happened. And it was covered up while I was in the hospital. That's what happened, because I later pulled it off. There's concrete. And so while I'm 10 days in the hospital, being intentionally crippled for life, and having my reputation ruined, etc., then they're covering up this failed murder, okay? For-profit failed murder. Because, it was going to steal my house, and there's other little stories here about the life insurance. The ex-wife had taken the life insurance books, right? My sister-in-law saw that saw them while they were gone, and it showed that I had an accidental death policy, that if my murder was ruled an accident, then it would add an additional $500,000 to the benefit. So there was a $500,000 extra for if they ruled my murder an accident. Okay, And so, and of course that was a plan, obviously, but I didn't die. Okay. And so, anyways, that placed those police officers under my home. Okay. And so it looks like it was police that under my home that tried to murder me. The ex-wife had later told me in so many words that a lot of people were here, you know. Actually, her exact words were, "You don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy." Okay, and I think my idiocy was the fact that I recognized somebody had been broken in my house again, and I tie-wired them doors shut, and I trapped that burglar. Okay, that was my idiocy. Okay, that's what she was calling it. But when she said, "You don't know how many lives ruined," told me there were a lot of people here. Well, how are they going to have their lives ruined when I'm home by myself and somebody breaks in my home and shoots me, or under my home and shoots me, you know? And so I think that was a reference, but I think that's where these police officers were. And there was a party going on in the underground home backyard where they have the oil show parties. And then I trapped that burglar with that tie wire when I tie wired the doors. And if the police arrested the criminal, as they should have, and sent them to prison for 10 years for the crimes they've been committing against me, it would expose all the underground homes, the $4 million underground homes. It would expose the tunnels. It would expose all these other 50 homes. And 50 is the tip of the iceberg. There's probably hundreds and hundreds of other homes that are rigged like this, you know. I mean, it was going to take the whole thing down this piece of wire. And I think they come up with the idea that they're going to kill me, call it an accident by tampering with evidence and lying on the police report, and then my home goes to the ex-wife, you know. But then I live. Okay, I'm back. Turned on the air conditioner, and one thing I want to mention, I was talking about the life insurance books that the ex-wife had taken. Okay, she took them when we separated. We separated a month before I shot, and then she brought them back. Okay. And about a week before I'm shot, along with filled out divorce papers, which actually meant nothing. But I filed for divorce 5 days before I shot, as I said a minute ago. Okay, and that's where the life insurance book showed that, you know, if my murder was ruled an accident, then it would add that extra $500,000. The big prize was this home, and then there's the regular life insurance, and you know, altogether is like $1.6 million. It's very profitable. You know, remember the doctors killing people for profit. You know, it's very profitable. About 8 months after the murder attempt, her former boyfriend, Arthur Welch, contacts me on Facebook, and I don't know him. And he asked me, he says, "Do you think she had anything to do with the shooting?" And I said, "Well, I think she was out of town at the time. She lived in Lubbock." I said, "But I think she knows who did, you know." And he writes back and he says, "I think she had a lot to do with it from the things I heard her say, and she threatened to have me killed too." And I print screen that. That actually ended up getting read in court at that protective order here in 2013. Okay, this comment from Arthur Welch, and then even last year, Arthur Welch posted on his Facebook, and this was like 8 years later or whatever, you know, about how that he had overheard her planning my murder with her corrupt police friends. You know, that's how he put it. Okay, to steal life insurance. Okay, and so I have the print screen of that too. And so I don't think that you know, I don't think she's a crime ringleader. I don't think that the ex-wife is over this nationwide network, you know, of all these homes being broken into, or the $1 million under the facility. You know, I personally always suspected that these people in this crime ring had her blackmailed or whatever, you know, and so they have, you know, they order her to do whatever they want, and they're using her. Okay, but I don't know that, you know. So, anyways, let's see what else do I want to tell you there. Usually I'll get questions and then I can answer it. And let me tell you here, since this has happened, I've had multiple people documented saying that their underground homes are near my home. Okay, one of the first people was a woman that called me, and I secretly recorded her, and she told me that there was 4 3-bedroom homes buried at least 25 foot deep, each costing over $1 million each, and they were having pedophile parties down there. Okay, that's in a video called $1 Million Underground Homes. Okay, because I secretly recorded that. So there's one person. Okay, another one, Rhonda Denton Rogers on Facebook, and we're talking to us that there's an underground facility somewhere by this house. She says, "I know, it's a half block away." So there's a second person that documented saying there's underground home. These are people that real law enforcement can talk to and find where the tunnel entrances is and solve all these murders and stop these crimes. Okay, and then another woman out of out of Houston contacts me because millions of people have seen this, or tens of thousands, whatever. And she contacts me. She says, I worked on that job. You know, she was a CAD programmer, computer assisted drafting. And she said, we finished in 1987 with a budget of $7.35 million. She named the company that she worked for and said it was put in for the Bushes, okay? The Bushes, as in the President Bushes, right, are from Midland, Texas, okay? And it was finished 87. At that time, George H.W. Bush was vice president under Reagan. That's when Iran-Contra was going on and all that, you know. Some people even suggested maybe that secluded truck unloading lane, the underground facilities, and, or, you know, Midland being close to the border, that it was connected to Iran-Contra, you know, where they're running, you know, selling guns for money type stuff or whatever that was. But that's unknown. But either way, you know, that documented with all these details, you know, that could be followed up by law enforcement. You know, another guy, Ricky Ronaldo, he contacts me on Facebook and he says, I used to live in that house. I said, oh yeah. He said, yeah, me and my brother used to go in the tunnels under it. You know, print screened it for proof. You know, and then another woman told me, she says, go look up your home on Google Maps, you know. And so I did. 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, directly behind the Home Depot store. And in my backyard, on the map screen or the block screen, they show this large building in my backyard. But you flip over to the satellite screen, you don't see it from above ground. You go to the map screen, there's a large building in my backyard. Obviously, it's one of the 4 underground homes, okay? That's where I believe the oil show parties go. That's where that little girl was murdered at in 2010 that Angie told me about, you know? And, you know, to drive 5 minutes. I believe she was driving from here to the Home Depot parking lot, parking, going there, going underground, coming back over here to where the parties were, underground. There you could see where the tunnel was coming from Home Depot, where the ground was cut coming towards my home, okay? And so, obviously, you know, that's where the oil show parties were and where that forced prostitution murder was at. I really think that some of these multi-billion-dollar companies, and I don't know which one, but you know, there's a lot of multi-billion-dollar oil companies, and that they don't want anybody to find out that about these secret underground facilities put in for the Bushes that were used for oil show parties, where a little girl was murdered because she didn't want to prostitute. That's a forced prostitution murder, human trafficking. That's what I was saying. And so they're bribing, you know, people like elected officials. You know, maybe the governor, the mayor, maybe the president. You know, I don't know. But how about the Secretary of Energy or whatever? Okay, and you know, they're doing anything to cover it up. That wouldn't be good for stocks. You know, we find that out. And somehow they can stop free press in America to murder one homeowner after another. That's what's going on here. Unprecedented lawlessness. You know, and so in 2019. I contacted Homeland Security because they're supposed to take care of human trafficking, okay? And I believe this is connected to human trafficking. They murdered a little girl because she went prostitute. You know, it's a big deal. You know, they're breaking into homes all over the nation, you know? And so I met them on May 28th. I have a video of the evidence that I provided them before I went up there to meet them that day. It's called Evidence Provided to Homeland. It's on my YouTube channel. And it shows you all the evidence I provided to Homeland, okay? And then on July 2nd, 2019, I get contacted by a DHS agent named Paul, and he at first he wanted to come here to my house, and I'm just super excited, thinking I finally found a cop that wasn't dirty, finally, you know, and you know, because I'm a lifelong supporter of law enforcement. I never had a felony, you know, and you know, I just can't, you know, here I can't get past this police corruption, this public corruption. You know, it's like one dirty cop, another dirty cop, another dirty cop, another dirty cop. I can't find a good cop, you know, and so anyways. And then he tells me to wait. No, wait, you know, hold on, we got something come up, you know. Well, at the same time I'm waiting, that's the day that Vice President Pence turned around in the air and flew back to Washington. Okay, I think that the reason that happened that day made national news. Y'all go look it up. July 2nd, 2019, Pence mysteriously turned around the air and flew back to Washington. I think it was because they were planning on what to do when they met me. Okay, and they're trying to cover up these murders for these oil show parties. It's coming back to oil companies. Is what that's my speculating. Okay. Anyways, he gets back with me and says, meet us at the Home Depot store instead of coming here. Okay. And so I get over there, and like I said, I'm excited, you know. And as soon as I get over there, this, you know, Paul, this DHS agent, and he's got a recorder hand right there with him, and he just catches me off guard. And he says, I don't know why you don't sell that home if you're living under the threat of death. I'm like, what? You know, I couldn't even believe he said that. That's what the killers are trying to get me to do. They're trying to terrorize me into selling my property. Remember, I said that earlier. That's what they're trying to do. They want me out of this house because they're trying to cover up murders. They're literally trying to cover up murders. That's why when they break in my house, threaten my life, and I report it to police and they look the other way and call me crazy, whatever. And then other people going, I'd sell it at home if I was you. That's what's going on. And here's this DHS agent, he's, why don't you sell your home? I compared this to the bank being robbed, and so here we got some, armed and dangerous criminals going to the bank, and they shoot somebody at the bank, whatever. The police show up and they get to the bank, and as soon as the police get there, they're going, I don't know why you don't sell this bank. What? I didn't call you to tell me to sell my bank. I didn't call DHS to tell me to sell my property, my home. I called you so you arrest these criminals so we can live safe inside our homes, all of us, because these are dangerous criminals, And so anyways, then we went around behind Home Depot store and I showed them where I believe this tunnel was at, okay? And you could see it on Google Earth historical maps, and y'all can go look that up if you want. You download Google Earth and go back in time to back when I shot, in 2012, and you can see, boy, you can see the asphalt's cut, aimed directly at Home Depot, directly at my house, just clear as day. And I'll tell you another story about that. I was at Home Depot telling the clerk one day my story, this, and I tell everybody like I am now, and she just kind of blurts out, just stops, and she said, if you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, it's because we're stalking. Like, what? I didn't ask that. I didn't think about it or nothing, But I was like, that's a clue, And what it was is the people that going to the oil show parties were parking in the oil, in that Home Depot parking lot late at night, right? They were going underground. You can come in this tunnel over here. In my backyard is one of them underground homes. That's where these parties are going on. And it was just clear as day. But anyway, so I showed Homeland. We drove there. Then we drove around to this side of the dividing wall, and I showed them, where you could see where the concrete had been poured on the bottom of that dividing wall, where they obviously tunneled under it. I have videos on that. I showed them where there's a coax cable coming down for a sudden link that goes into the ground, right? I got videos on this too, and it's on that telephone pole. And nobody knows where it goes. It doesn't go to Home Depot. They, I went up 3 levels of management in their IT department. No, we don't have Suddenlink coming in our building. And all the homes are going above ground, but we got one cable that goes underground, and it's only 20 foot to where, it looks like there's an underground home in my backyard. It's obviously. Once I made videos, Suddenlink gets a disconnect notice and comes out here and disconnects it, And I got that on camera. I got a picture of it, of their trucks here that day, and that was in 2014. And so anyway, showed them that. Also showed them there was 2 side-by-side manholes behind the Home Depot store. One of them had the lid off for like 2 years, And I think that was the one where the people in the attic were going over to meet the truckers, okay? This really doesn't happen anymore because all the videos and all the attention and all that, that's pretty much stopped, but I think that's what we're doing. They were running like a 24/7 sex trafficking business, like a truck stop. And so, but that open manhole, I believe, was connected, back to, back to my home, pretty much the underground home in the backyard, which is connected to under my home, okay, and then leads up into the attic, okay, and obviously they get in the main area of my house too. So anyways, then Homeland leaves, and then I texted that night, I text Agent Paul a video that I have called Decided to Sell My Home, right? And this whole video is about people coming to me going, why don't you move? And some of them very rudely. There was one guy that told me, he says, you got 2 choices. You can either move or meet God early. There was another guy that wrote me, and he said, buddy, he says, cops can kill you and get away with it. You need to quit publicizing their business and go buy you another home. It's always about the home because they want me in a home. And what is their business? Is their business pimping out little girls, right? Forcing them to prostitute and underground parties? Is their business, shooting homeowners from under their homes? What is their business that I need to stop publicizing, right? But the whole thing is about they're trying to, terrorize me from my home. Anyway, this video called Decided to Sell My Home, I say in this video that I decided to sell my home due to the terrorism that I've lived under every day, repeated break-ins to my home. You know, I don't know how many proof videos I've had, burglar alarms going off the attic, the security light going on in my attic, you know, the death threats. One guy, he contacts me and he says, we have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You will be silenced, not if, but when. And I wrote back and I said, when are you going to kill me, Lance? You know, and then I sent that to the Chief Police Robinson, and of course it was ignored. That's it. I mean, that's what I've lived under, just absolute lawlessness, you know. And so at the end of this video, I said, due to this, you know, ongoing terrorism, and I also mentioned that this is a violation of the Hobbs Act. The Hobbs Act says you can't conspire with others to terrorize a property owner into selling their property. Okay, and I give this example. Say if I own oil wells, okay, you want to buy my oil wells, and you want to buy them for $1 a piece, okay, but I don't want to sell my oil wells for $1 a piece. Okay, so you get with your friends and your dirty cop friends you went to grade school with and all that, and you know, and you go, I'll tell you what, I'll threaten his life. Another one goes, I'll break in his home. Another one goes, you know, and the police officer go, when he calls me and reports these crimes, I'll just call him crazy and look the other way and allow the crimes being. And then the other ones come on there, I'll go up to him and say, I'd sell that home if I was you. And then or sell them oil wells if I was you. And then that way they're trying to entice you to sell your property under the threat of death. And that's what's going on. They're trying to entice me to sell my property under threat. And we know why, because they're trying to cover up murders. I mean, hundreds of people should be going to prison for that one. That's 20 years in prison. And it's racketeering. It's organized crime. They're working together trying to steal property, okay? And so anyway, that's in this video I sent the DHS agent. But I finally said, okay, but I'm tired of it. I can't do it no more. You win, okay? Y'all win. You know, I'm selling my home, okay? And the price is $1 billion, okay? So pony up. As soon as you pony up, I'm out of here, you know? You can go ahead and kill the next guy. You just pay me my money and I'm out of here, you know? And you know, that's a joke. No property's ever been sold for $1 billion, especially a little 3-bedroom home, right? You know? And, you know, but it's funny, you know, I mean, I thought it was funny, right? You know, because as soon as when I posted that, like on Facebook, all these suspects, these people that are quote unquote supposed to be your friends that are not your friends, right? I mean, they're covering up the crimes against me. Oh, I think that's a great idea, buddy. I just can't believe why you hadn't moved earlier, you know? Oh, I'm so happy. These are people who never, you know, here I've showed proof of a murder attempt, proof of maiming, mutilation, no matter, proof of this, proof of that, never say nothing. As soon as I say I'm going to sell it, oh, that's a great idea. And what they didn't look at was the price, you know? And boy, they're just disappointed once they see the price. But it's my home. I set the price, right? I mean, right? If somebody has $1 billion, I will stand by my word and they can buy my home. And then, you know, and then they can get back to raping, murdering little girls at oil show parties, right? And killing that one homeowner after another using the secret police murder game, you know, whatever. But anyway, I sent that video, that DHS agent, and then he texted me back. Well, let's get one thing straight, buddy. I wasn't trying to talk you into moving. Really? Yeah. Bull crap, you know. And so crimes still go on to this day. 2 weeks later, I get home. And boom, 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 my pictures are shaking on my wall. They got big equipment out there behind Home Depot. They're digging up the asphalt and they're pouring concrete. And I get it on video. You know, here I just showed Homeland that's supposed to take care of human trafficking, where a human trafficking murder tunnel was located, and they're digging up the ground and pouring concrete. I kid you not. That's another video. It's called what? Met Homeland, now they're pouring concrete. It's on my YouTube channel. And so, about 2 weeks after I get this on video, and it went viral, of them pouring concrete back there, okay, covering up the human trafficking murder tunnel, right? They're literally trying to cover up murders, as far as I'm concerned. The U.S. Congressman, senior U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland retires, or announces his retirement, okay? Come to find out, his brother-in-law used to live across the street from my home. I had spoken to Conaway. I met his staff and sent them evidence. He sent me on a dead end. He sent me to the U.S. Inspector General, which I contacted about 100 times and never got a reply back, okay? And so about 3 months after I get this video, because remember what that is as far as I'm concerned, that's tampering with evidence in a capital murders, okay? This is death penalty stuff is what this is, right? What they're doing. And 3 months after that video was made of them pouring concrete back there, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland resigns. That was McClellan, Kevin McClellan. 6 days after that, U.S. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigned. Okay, so 2 secretaries resigned right then, 3 months after I got that video of them pouring concrete. Okay, and you know, of course, the press, you know, they've done such a disservice to the American public and hid so much of that's another should have been a national news story. You know, I mean, what I believe was going on, these multi-billion-dollar oil companies that don't want the public to find out the truth about murdering a little girl and rigging homes, underground homes, and all that. You know, they're leaning on people like Rick Perry, going, Rick, you need to cover this up. This is not good for our stocks, Rick. You know, yeah, you need to cover up these murders for us. You know, maybe you need to pour some concrete or whatever. And then they got caught. You know what I mean? And you know, now they're going, wow, could I get the death penalty for this? You know, whatever. And keep in mind, Perry was governor of Texas. Okay, he was governor when Mike Lawhon died. You know, and that was the week before the 2008 oil show started. That's when the previous homeowner died, you know. And, you know, and there's a whole story about, you know, Fort Worth and all that. But the timing was obvious. They killed him because of the oil show party in 2008. And then the little girl was murdered in 2010 oil show. And then I'm shot. Rick Perry was the governor all the time. I have emails where I sent Rick Perry emails, okay? And so, you know, the DHS story is another huge story in here, a big story in here. Okay. There's a lot more. I mean, you know, and that's why I have almost 1,000 videos now, and this is a credible, true story. I'm going to try to finish this out real quick and just talk briefly, quickly about Haley Dunn, the famous missing, murdered 13-year-old child from Colorado City, Texas. That's 80 miles from here. Okay, she went missing in December of 2010. Okay, that was 2 months after the oil show parties where the young girl was murdered. Okay, I later found out that her mom was a stripper in the area, and just like Angie was ordered to work at the oil show parties, my friend that I worked with, and she wasn't a stripper, but obviously all the strippers were working at the oil show party. That's a big deal. That's a big money maker for them, you know. And so obviously Billy Dunn, the mother of Haley, was working at the oil show parties. We put her in the backyard. And one woman told me that she was taking Haley, this 13-year-old, to the strip clubs with her. And so I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, she took Haley to the oil show parties in 2010, 2 months before she went missing. But she wasn't a famous missing murdered child back then. And now these super wealthy oil field people, whatever, they don't want anybody to find out that they were at a sex party with a 13-year-old famous missing murdered child. That's what I think, right? I don't have proof on that, but that's what I think. And so, anyways, I'm shot in 2012, and then in 2013, March 14, 2013, I write the Department of Justice, Safe Child Project. I have the email, and I suggest they come here, they find these underground homes, they look for clues and for Haley Dunn. She was still missing. And 2 days later, her remains are found in Scurry County. Okay, she'd been missing for over 2 years, and as soon as I suggest that they come here and look in these underground homes, oh, we found her, don't go to Buddy's house, don't go to Buddy's house, don't go to Buddy, we got her, we know she's over in Scurry County, you know. To make this more interesting, now I've documented, about a dozen people as saying that Haley was killed in Odessa, which is Ector County. Okay, I believe, and a lot of other people believe, that Haley was dug up and moved from Ector County to Scurry County because of my email. Okay, I mean, isn't that crazy? Okay. She was found by a guy named Curtis Lloyd. Okay. One of the many homes that identify with people in the attic was on Dartmouth here in Midland. Okay, when I research a home that has with owners reporting people in the attic, I look at the next door neighbors because that's where I think the tunnel was coming from. Okay, that the neighbors rigged that home, you know. And when I look up the neighbors for that home on Dartmouth, I find out the parents of Curtis Lloyd live next door. I suspect Curtis grew up next door to a home where they're reporting people in the attic. I think maybe Curtis is part of this crime ring because I think the people in the attic and all them crimes are connected. It's all connected together. And I'm suspecting that he was chosen to go to Scurry County and find her remains, 2 days after I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested they look in them underground homes, And so there's more to that story too. I mean, just the amount of documentation. They just arrested Sean Atkins last week. Big news, national news, because that's a famous story, right? That was the boyfriend or whatever. And I contacted the Mitchell, this is a recent video, the Mitchell County DA office a week ago on Friday, left a message, and I recorded it, okay? And I told them that I've got 10 people documented either by recordings, emails, messages, saying they have information on the murder of Haley Dunn. And this is who, where, when, how, I mean, all kinds of details. They all fit together, and I never got a call back. And they've got Sean arrested. None of them people said Sean was there. I think that was the boyfriend of Billy Dunn, the stripper mom. Okay, I'm thinking, that's some people go, what are they trying to do? Scapegoat it? And once again, I think really what I think's happening is Billy and Haley were at these underground oil show parties too much before she went missing, and there's certain people that don't want anybody to find that out, and so more the obstruction of justice, and so anyway, that's I tell people this story, and sometimes I keep it shorter, but it's truly incredible on multiple levels. It should be national news. It should have been a long time ago. Proof that they faked my x-rays, that's a national news story. The first known secret place since Nazi Germany, that's a national news story. A crime victim offering a reward to identify police, that's a national news story. $1 million underground homes put in by the Bushes. This is not Buddy said that, that Layla said that. I recorded her saying it. None of this is Buddy said they said. Well, there is a certain parts like what Angie told me, or even what the ex-wife told me, the doctor's killing for profit. That one you got to take my word for that. But it should be pretty clear that my word is rock solid, And so, anyways, here I just thought you might find that interesting. That's the story.